Now, in the world of DSP, there certainly are a lot of offerings from brands that you know, and now from brands that you may not know. What brand, you say? Well, if you're tuned in, then you must be curious, like I am, to learn about a new brand in the marketplace called RESOLUT Technology. And to help us along figure out what this RESOLUT thing is all about, we've got industry veteran Nick Wingate to decipher this entire thing for us. This is CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM, all about RESOLUT Technology. And it starts now. What's going on, guys, and welcome to another CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and you are tuned in to CMA Networks, where we talk mobile electronics day in and day out. Now, it's not every day that we get to talk about a new brand, but one occasion is today, and I can tell you, I, for one, are certainly excited. Not only are we talking about a new brand, but I'm talking with one of our very good friends, and honestly, an icon in the industry that knows what he's talking about, certainly more than I do. I'll make sure I'll ask the right questions. Let's welcome to the episode, Mr. Nick Wingate. Nick, can you give us a brief breakdown of what we're going to be talking about today?
Well, thanks for the glowing remarks, sir. I appreciate it. Industry icon, huh? Okay, whatever you think, Ben. I'll go with it. Uh, yeah, we're going to be talking about a series of products that has kind of redefined, I would say, the audiophile grade for 12 volt as far as car audio is concerned. Pretty interesting. The philosophy is a little different. The way they design things is different. Certainly, the performance level of them is quite different, and I think everybody's going to be quite intrigued by what we're going to talk about this evening, right now.
I'll tell you, every time we get together, Nick, it's always going to be intriguing. But I do agree with you. I want to find out what this is all about, and no better person than you. And yes, I do repeat, industry icon. All right, we'll get right back after the break. But first, a quick message from our sponsor, SiriusXM, reminding you why it's always great as an add-on sale. And when we get back, let's find out what RESOLUT is all about. We'll see you after the break.
Hey, Paul here with SiriusXM, and I'd like to talk to you about attachment selling and why the SiriusXM product is one of the best things to add, especially since we don't trade dollars with any other category. I could go through all of this, but let's hear what some of our dealers have to say.
It's an easy add-on that takes, 10, 15 minutes if we're running an antenna, 1 minute if we've got an adapter to plug it into the factory SiriusXM antenna, and it's extra money, so no brainer.
I present it to every customer because a lot of customers don't know what all they can do with Sirius. They don't know what all content they could have. It just makes too much sense not to sell it.
It creates a different customer loyalty and customer security when you explain to them why it's a better experience. Just gets them back in the door, and then the next car, they're already asking for it again. So it just keeps selling itself. It makes more sense.
Well, there you have it. You heard from our dealers. Just remember some of the best practices. Make sure you have one on display so you can demo it. Make sure you're taking advantage of our rewards program, because if you're not taking advantage of that, you're leaving even more money on the table. Make sure you got our POP up on display. And other than that, just make sure you're recommending it.
And welcome back to CMA Connected. Of course, my esteemed guest, Mr. Nick Wingate. Nick, sir, always a pleasure to have you here. And I'll tell you what, I've known you a couple years now. And when we were kind of in the back studio, kind of chatting about this brand, I felt a certain level of excitement that arguably I might not have seen from you in quite some time. So I'm excited to see where this goes. Let's start out of the gate. A lot of people who are watching this may not have heard of this brand. I am included in this. I haven't heard about this. So let's start with, who is this RESOLUT Technology? Where are they from? What's this all about?
Well, it's a group of products that was developed in Russia by a group of engineers who have a tremendous amount of passion for not just audio, but car audio in general. And they wanted to build something that was different. And being Russians, it really is. It's very different. But it's also of a different type of sound that we're all used to, because quite frankly, uh, it's it's difficult to describe, Ben, because it is so radically different in the way that they approach things. That it really is. The only way to describe it is it really and truly, this is an audiophile grade product, be it home or car. That's the best way that I can describe these products.
It's interesting when I see you have a loss for words for describing something. Now you really have me intrigued. So let's maybe break this down into little pieces, little digestible pieces. and maybe paint a better picture. So we understand now this is a unique product. It's something that's definitely different from what I would say is currently on the market. In your words, audiophile grade, even to a home stereo,
Yes.
standard. Okay,
Yes,
let's
absolutely.
maybe we can talk about the design a little bit. Maybe the design elements will give us hints as to what makes these Resolute products different. What have you noticed in the design? Let's talk about the DSP, because I think obviously we're in the DSP sessions. And the one particular model that I want to really showcase here is a model called the TDSP MK2, which is an 8-channel processor, right? Standalone.
Yeah.
So talk us a little bit about some of the unique design cues that really caught your attention.
Well, first of all, when you get one of the units, especially the T, you're going to notice something really quickly. It only has a digital coaxial input, and it has a Toslink digital input. That's it. So you starting to think, well, why is that? Well, that's because this is it's the best possible signal, quote unquote, that you can have. So they start there, but that's not the only way that you can get input signal. You can get it with an 8-channel analog input, which is a module you can plug into it, or you can use USB-B input, which is another module that can plug into it. And it's also, there is the ability to have high resolution Bluetooth plugged directly into it. So yeah, it's quite different in that, it's extremely flexible, whether it's analog, whether it's digital, whether it's Bluetooth, it's there. All you have to do is obtain one of the modules if you're not going to use digital coax, or you're not going to use Toslink. It has the same number of outputs on it. Really interesting in that all of the RCA inputs, they are of the highest quality. That's kind of surprising to me, but that's not the whole story by any stretch of the imagination. When you open the thing up and you look at the part complement, you look at the board layout, you look at the ESS 9038 Saber DAC that's in this thing. That's about the best there is in the world, and they use the best analog device, analog to digital converter, to maintain the purity of signal. They build a power supply that is extremely unique, operates at 1 megahertz, which is ridiculously, unbelievably fast. Uh, and having it operate at that level, it ensures that all these premium parts that they're using, and they are premium parts. I mean, they are like, the highest of the high end, and they can operate at 100% efficiency. So yeah, it's not like anything I've ever seen, even in home audio. It is completely different in every respect, sir.
In that last little segue there, you dropped a lot of bombs, and I'm going to do my best to break this out for y'all, because I know you're probably writing down all these type of questions in the comments. So let's start off with what you first started with. We understand that the unit comes standard or stock with a coaxial or a Toslink input. However, you also mentioned there's opportunities to expand to RCAs, and one that I thought was extremely interesting was the USB-B. So, Nick, I'm going to take advantage of the fact that you're here, man. Break down for us, for those that are tuning in, when it comes to the quality of the signal that you could put into this thing. Can you break out what the different layers are, the different steps as you go from, I guess, the minimum to what you can attain with these options?
Sure. When we're talking on the digital input side, Toslink in-car audio today is basically limited to a 24-bit, 96 kilohertz resolution bit stream. Okay. That's the standard car audio protocol. And this is no different. It will accept up to, if I remember correctly, a 32-bit, 192 kilohertz signal on Toslink. But because in car audio we're limited to that, be it, let's say you have a digital output from maybe Kenwood, it's going to be limited to 2496. When you switch to digital coax, this is when you will find like a digital audio player, a standalone DAP that has coaxial output. Then you get to 32-bit, 192 kilohertz resolution, which is really, really good. That's up there. but then with the optional of USB input, you also have the ability to get 64-bit, 192 kilohertz resolution. Yeah, which is extremely high. Yeah, and that's saying something because when we're talking 64-bit, that is up there when you're talking about listening to, let's say, classical music, or you're listening to jazz and you're listening for the sounds that the instruments make. Yeah, it's going to be there, but you're also going to be able to hear things like the opening and closing of valves on a trumpet, the felt on the bottom of the pedals on the piano, things like that. That is where that signal resolution starts to come into play. So you've got the best of everything there. And even on the analog input side, the analog device, the ADAU 1466 that they're using, that's the chip they're using, that maintains, a resolution as high as 64-bit, 192 kilohertz. So no matter which way you want to go with this, whether it's the analog input or the digital inputs, you're going to get something that is exceptional in playback quality.
That was a lot of numbers to digest, but for a amateur audiophile like myself who enjoys my 2-channel at home, yes, I invest the money into my 64 192, and to know that this could reproduce that, well, yeah, that is, you guys know what I'm talking about. 64 192 is kind of like the magic number we all want. However, to handle this type of, clarity, quality, resolution, it takes a powerful processor. And you mentioned in your earlier segment there that this is using a top of the line processor. I think you called it an ESS Sabre. Can you give us a little bit
Yes.
more insight on how significant that is?
Yeah. If I remember correctly, I think it was 2016. Don't hold it to me, but I think 2016 is when the ESS 9038 Sabre DAC came out. And when this company brought these series of chips out, it literally changed everything, because we were looking at 140 dB signal to noise ratio from the chip. It's capable of that. Now, that's extremely high. That's quiet. When you've got that kind of signal to noise ratio, you are literally going to hear everything on the recording. The problem is that you're going to have to build a preamp that's that good to get the signal back to the amplifiers, and that is not easy to do. That's a lot of money. But the high-end home audio world adopted this. They know that this, there's a couple of chips out there they're up there with it. But if you go into the high-end 2-channel world and you start looking around and you start looking at all of the higher end standalone digital analog converters out there, you're going to find the vast majority of them are using this particular digital analog converter.
All right. Well, I think that says it in itself, that speaks volumes. No pun, pun intended, anyhow.
Yeah, pun intended.
Okay, so we talked about the flexibility, right, between the inputs. We talked about the clean design, the fact that it's using top level components. But really,
Yes.
that's a lot of jargon. All right, let's get
Yeah.
down to what this means. Okay, because I think there's a bigger story here. I've been doing this for a while, as you have, Nick, and I've seen a lot of DSP processors come through, and
Yeah.
a lot
Me
of
too.
companies put a lot of focus on the integration side of it, right? How do we
Mhm.
integrate the systems? What can DSP do for you for that? When it comes to this type of product, though, I might say that that's not really their focus. I mean, their focus is, for me, what you're telling me here, their focus is one thing and one thing alone: reproduce that sound as clean, as pure as possible in a car audio environment, which is kind of a refreshing thing, because we're not talking about trying to make it work. No, never mind the make it work. We're at a point where we want to take it and elevate it to this level. So talk to us a little bit. I know you had an experience when you first heard this device.
Yes.
Go back to that moment and share that with us, please.
This particular model, I literally got this about 3 weeks ago, and I put it in my home system. And my home system is not shabby by any stretch of the imagination. And I dropped this in just to use as a digital to analog converter, period. I didn't even fire up the DSP. All I did was go signal in, signal out. I used USB-B coming off of my computer, plugged into it, went straight to my Crown amplifiers, going to my home speakers, and I started listening to music that I am quite familiar with. That I've, as an IASCA judge for so many years, there's music that I know ad nauseum. And I listen to, and everybody's going to forgive me. Yes, I know. I listen to Jennifer Warren's famous Blue Raincoat. Yeah, I know. But I know the song. I know every note on the song. And when this track fired up and went through this processor, I sat there with my mouth open and I was blown away. I heard layering of instruments unlike anything I had heard in a long time, at least in my system. I heard the timbre of the opening of a saxophone, and that saxophone sounded live. It had that kind of energy. It had that kind of detail. It had that kind of power behind it. And yeah, I've got 300 watts a channel of Crown class AB amplifiers. It needed every bit of it. And this is really, when we're talking high end home audio, people always ask me, well, we're putting 1,500 watts in a car, 2,000 watts in a car. Yeah, but it's not 300 watts of 120 volt power supply. That's a different story. And that amplifier was going to 300 watts. I mean, I was watching it damn near clip just playing a saxophone. That is a hell of a lot of signal to noise ratio. That's a lot of dynamic range. And when you have that kind of signal to noise ratio and dynamic range, and you have this cleaner preamp, things come through in spades. Layering, depth, width, height, three-dimensionality. It's just, I sat there and I listened to music for the better part of 4 hours. And I was choosing this song, that song, and stuff that I was like, okay, I haven't listened to this in a while. I'm going to go grab this CD and I'm going to find it and I'm going to take the digital output off of my CD player. I'm going to plug it into this so I can hear this CD because I know this CD backwards, forwards, and sideways. And it was, again, just jaw dropping, and that the presentation was so radically different. Huge soundstage, tremendous bottom end, like 20 hertz bottom end coming from my sub that I normally don't hear in different tracks of music. So yeah, when we're talking radically different, this is it. It is a radically different approach for car audio. And if you're interested in the absolute best, folks, this is it. I promise you.
Well, guys, I don't know how much more of an explanation you want without auditioning it for yourself, Nick. Thank you for sharing. I mean, that was obviously a very passionate experience that you went through, right? And
Yeah,
let's be honest,
yeah.
it almost sounded like you were a kid again for a second, right?
Well,
Going through your
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Listen, I know you guys tuned into the show because you want to find out about Resolute. We figured that, because this is a new product, instead of going, product by product, SKU by SKU, we'd have lots of time to get into that. But we felt that it was really important to try to understand what makes this brand different, where it sits in the marketplace. So I guess let's get to that, because obviously from the way you're describing this, Nick, this is not for everybody.
No.
This is not built to fit into every vehicle and make it easy and, all that type of thing.
No.
This seems to me is for the guy who wants the best, with the guy that absolutely cares about every detail, money aside, right? Just making sure that he has every component in the system to produce that connection with that music that they want in their car. That's what's crazy is I'm not even myself, I'm not used to speaking at this level of, I guess, technology for car audio. So this is kind of refreshing. So break it down for me. Who is this for? And how do you see, what message do you have for people to try this out?
Well, like you said, Ben, this is not going to be for everyone. Number one, you need to understand the level of fidelity that it's going to allow you to experience. And if you don't have that learned hearing, as I like to call it, you're not going to understand what this is giving you. And that could be a problem. And I'm saying not to go experience it. That's not what I'm saying. I think everybody should get a chance to listen to it. But I don't mind telling you the price is not inexpensive. It is going to be a very limited distribution initially because they literally build this to order. Until we can get things going here, and then we'll ramp it up and get it going in the future. But there will be some stores that will have it. They will be able to demonstrate this to you. That's something we're working on. And if you are wanting to experience an absolute best right now in car audio, that is going to give you the opportunity to experience music at a different level of fidelity, then seek it out. You're going to be able to go to the websites and you're going to be able to find it. And please give us some time because we got to get it out there.
This is fresh,
But
guys. It's totally fresh. Yeah.
I mean, this is literally, just a few weeks old as far as getting it in. And I think once we get enough people on the road with it, you'll understand the opportunity to have the opportunity to listen to and experience this. You're going to understand. It is different. It is truly an amazing experience to hear music at this level in a car. In a home, yeah, we can do it. In a car, that's a different story. So that's the reason I'm excited about this, Ben.
I loved your level of excitement, your level of enthusiasm, and you know what I'm thinking as you say this. I think this is going to really make a lot of seasoned car audio guys very curious. That's number one. But I can't help but think this might get a lot of home audio guys curious about what is possible in a car. What do you think about that statement?
That is something that we're exploring. I know that we have plans to be at, for those of you who know what Axpana is, it is the high-end 2-channel home audio event that takes place in Chicago every year. We plan on being there this year with several cars. They will have the Resolute processors in them. They're going to have amazing sounding systems in them. If you have an opportunity, please come by and take a listen. I think you're going to be astonished with what you're going to hear.
Amazing. So just to wrap it up, guys, this is Nick Wingate. He's giving you his first person encounter with this new product called Resolute Technologies. I did drop, one product that I think is going to be the showpiece, right? Which is their standalone processor called the TDSP MK2. But check out the website. We'll put a link on the bottom. Standalone processors, amplifiers with integrated DSP as well. It's a full line. It's really a boutique style Audiophiles kind of experience. Just looking at the website, you can tell. And they do a great job just explaining what are the components they use, what it looks. These guys are not scared to take down their skirt and show you what's inside. I'll tell you that right now.
No, they don't care.
All over it's all over the site. Okay, it is. Nick, listen, thank you for coming in. Last but not least, if you had to sum it up for somebody who has experience, has a good system, has DSP, is beyond that. He's a high level SQ guy.
Okay.
How would you explain this in words before I let you go?
It is the pinnacle of technology right now in the 12-volt industry when it comes to, you're going to forgive me, the resolution of a signal going into amplifiers. There's nothing like it out there right now. I've heard all of them, Ben. There's some that are more expensive than this, but they don't sound like this. This is completely different. It reminds me of the first time I heard a $200,000 turntable. And everybody's going to look at me and go, "That's a record, Nick." Yeah, but you'd have to have heard this. It literally changed the way I thought about the way vinyl should be played.
Fair enough.
That's the level of fidelity this thing has when you compare it against other things in our industry. It's that different.
Well, obviously, I want to thank our good guest, Nick Wingate, for joining us tonight. I mean, this is definitely a session, if anything else. We got a chance to kind of, really break down what this new brand is all about. Ask Nick some personal questions, his personal experiences that he shared with us. And again, no, we didn't get into different models and SKUs, but we'll have a lot of time for that. For now, go on to the website. Check it out. We have the website here. We'll put it on the screen. It is resolute without an e.ru. And I think you'll be, man, I was blown away when I looked at it. I'm sure you will too. If you're a geek and a nut like me, I'm sure you'll enjoy it at the very least. But that's where you'd find more information. My takeaway, listen, I'm always excited when there's new innovation, new introduction of product, and people who are bringing something different to the table. Every industry always needs new injection of energy. That's what makes industries like ours thrive, especially one where we sell nothing that anybody needs and everything purely based on passion. And when it comes to high-end products, my appreciation for it is as follows. Yeah, price is one thing, but what is the value of your content, your happiness, the smile on your face when you connect with that music through whichever medium you're listening to? Of course, on CMA, we're talking about car audio. And when something like this comes along for car audio, yeah, it's worth the listen. That's it for this CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.